It was Lee, then it was Richard when it ended at the end of
It
the
had to be
70s.
because Richard had the 200 wins, right? And the more wins you have, the higher your I rating is,
Yeah,
right?
but this stops at 80. You didn't get the 200 till 84.
Oh, I see. But it
But
wasn't just the wins with Richard. It was his top threes, his top fives. He always had a top three.
and
He rarely finished below 20.
and he would run every race, whereas a lot of other racers wouldn't. So he was essentially almost an ARCA farmer in a sort of way. When people are talking about comparing him to Earnhardt or Johnson, the one difference is that he ran all the races, whereas most of the other guys were only going to 30 races a year. He was going to 70, and most of the time he was the only one there that was real competition.
Yeah, they were running multiple nights a week back then. So, a really cool video. So he's planning to do, I guess, try to do decades at a time, I guess. And he mentions here towards the end of it, it's going to get a little challenging because you're going to get the introduction of what would have been the Busch Series, the Grand National Series. So you're going to have guys that are going to be basically double dipping. So I'm curious to see how he handles that. But I think it really should be neat if he carries this through. Once we get to, I think, really to the 90s and the 2000s, I think it's going to be very interesting to see who climbs to the very top.
I was just thinking that I want to know the current drivers. What would be their I rating today? Um, who has the highest I rating out of the current crop?
I think he should include Bush and Truck because that's how the guys who get there in iRacing don't just run NIS. Right. We talked about DJ's I rating. He says it's 3,000 higher because he only runs ARCA.
Does that mean someone like Kyle Busch that farmed in the Truck Series for a long time would have had a lot more?
Yeah, that's what I said. I think it's going to be interesting as he tries to incorporate those in to see what happens. So where you could, in theory, you could have a Kyle Busch actually have a higher I rating than say 7-time champion Jimmy Johnson, just because of the amount of races and wins and all of that stuff.
It's been going down recently.
I don't know if this guy listens, but if he does include Nationwide, he might have to go back because back in the early days there was multiple series as well.
Did he say that Richard Petty went over 5,000 I rating 3 times? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I think so. I think Lee Petty got up to like the 4,000s, 44 or something was the highest that Lee got. But yeah, Richard had gotten above 5. I think towards the end of the 79 season, maybe, or through the 79 season.
Anyone interested this will be interesting when you get Waltrip and Dale Earnhardt and all them start coming into the fold, right?
Yes.
My head hurts thinking about how I would actually set up the math on this in the spreadsheets. Like, how did he figure this out? That's hard.
It's just a lot of manual data entry, and the formulas are not so hard. You just go through each race and type in each person's I rating for that race, and then you calculate, and then you put in their finish positions, and it's all math. Also, he talks about the strength of field, and your strength of fields are going to continue to kind of rise as you've had more drivers come in, especially if he starts applying the nationwide races, because those guys are going to build their I rating up before they even get into Cup. But we should call it. Should it be called I rating or should it be called R rating?
Take this one. So there's a trend on social media where people post anything can be an album cover, and they'll play like a video, and you stop the video right in the middle of it, and boom, that's the album cover, and they stamp it. So, of course, iRacing, being all social media savvy, decided to get in on the trend And of course, what did they pick? Two of their, track marshals, hanging out in the grass. One's got his arms crossed, the other's just standing there. But yeah, it's got the parental advisory, explicit content label on the album cover here.
Well, I've got their band name. The band name should be Off Limits.
How about 4X?
Yeah, any others, guys? Come on. You're all just sitting there like,
Well, some of the replies: Black Flag, Double Waved Yellow, 3 Days Race, 2X. So there's an incident ahead. Yeah, I don't know. Thinking of I don't know what was it? The Blue Man Group? How about the Orange Man Group? That's not very original, but
That sounds too political.
Title
jeez.
idea. Orange Man Group. No, that's a little too political for this season, right? Orange Man Group. Okay.
I don't know. I heard it.
I like the 3 Days Race. That one's good. All right. So, John, Steve Myers has another tweet.
He does. I guess he's still on vacation, but apparently the member survey that we did not too long ago must have worked, because he's saying that iRacing has signed another top 5 track. Doesn't say which one it is. I wouldn't even have a guess, but we've got another one coming.
Well, wait. He says he's in Pennsylvania. He says he's at Hershey Park, and he signed that track while he's at Hershey Park. So it's got to be in the Pennsylvania area. The track. So I think we can presume that.
Yeah, I just don't know what's up there.
I have no guesses, and there's no guesses in the replies either, it looks like.
So, iRacing can get games out on time. All right. That's probably why they're still a solvent business. Right, Brad?
Yep. So we talked about this, I think, last week. Exocross is getting ready to be released on July 23rd. I had a tweet. Sorry, X post, tweet, whatever. Says just got word that Exocross game has been certified on all platforms, and will officially come out a week from today, so the 23rd of July. So if you've not seen it, check it out. Great preview video. So again, we've talked about this before. It's kind of a somewhat futuristic, somewhat open game is what it looks like, as far as, kind of seems like you can go pretty much anywhere. So again, looks pretty neat. I don't know if I'll dive into this or not, but yeah.
Was there a price on this?
I haven't seen a price. Mike Straw from Insider Gaming, though, did a preview article. He says, I'll read a quote. Visually, it's stunning. From the vehicles to the tracks to the overall atmosphere, Exocross looks phenomenal. There's just something about racing with Saturn in the backdrop that feels breathtaking. It can also be distracting the first time around because you want to soak it all in.
So I'm guessing this is going to be what, on all of the PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, all of that.
Yeah. So you can play PC on Steam. I'm thinking about buying it, but I'm broke right now, so it'll probably wait. I didn't realize it was coming out so soon, but yeah, coming soon.
It says this probably doesn't mean anything because it's in Canadian, so it's probably like $2 for you guys. I don't know if it's the actual. It says $51.99 Canadian, so I don't know if that actually is something on it, but
Sounds reasonable.
don't quote me on that.
They did say in the trailer in the article I read, you can use your wheel pedals with it on PC, but I suppose console too. But they said if you're going to do that, you've got to do some tweaking that's a little bit tricky. I don't know what they meant by that, but just be prepared to tinker with things a little bit.
Well, that's the thing that would catch me off guard. I don't want to have to monkey with my wheel or pedals or something just to play a game. I want it to support triples out of the box. I don't want this
Audience, Mike.
weird FLV.
Audience.
It
We're
won't
going
su-
after.
Oh.
It won't support triples. I bet you at all. It might do the ultra wides, but not triples.
Yeah, again, it's who's the audience, who's the end user is what is really the focus.
Maybe I won't get it then.
I'll have one of my grandkids get it, and I'll let you know.
All
There you
right,
go.
so the next one is the big one. We have a big crash in Streeters from iRacing. It's a post from Wyatt Tinsley, and essentially it looks like they're at a plate track, or no, they're at Charlotte, but they're in street stock, so it's essentially a plate track. It's like a drafting track, and there's a big pack, and then they come up on a car that's just stopped on the track. Big wreck, caused a big wreck, and this white car ends up carrying a black car stuck on its hood, and he almost looks like he's driving to keep holding him for a while, and then he pulls over and then just dumps him off and throws him into the wall.
That plate was probably not to spec, so they had to get rid of it. It's a big metal plate.
You couldn't recreate that if you tried, to have a big wreck and go up in the air and land on that other car just perfectly enough for him to go another, quarter way around the track before falling off. Pretty cool.
Now, he probably didn't realize he was actually heading towards the wall, but when you look at it on replay, he's like, you know what? I'm just going to dump you off into the wall. The car's probably dead anyway. Its hood's facing way up. All right, this tweet was made for me, wasn't it, Brad?
Yeah, after last night it was. Take it away, Dave.
It's really hard to enjoy NIS, and it's a caution fest. I guess we can just get it. It's a caution fest, and it's partially just the way the car drives. You can't have success if you want to try to have a Mark Martin type attitude. Everybody has to drive like assholes or get run over, and we had that kind of issue again last night. I don't want to do it anymore. There's about a 2% chance I run Indy Friday night. I was home for the afternoon race, and I went to the pool. I just was like, nah, I don't want to do it. It's not fun anymore. If I'm getting that mad about it, I'm just gonna either go fly planes or maybe ride. I'm gonna start driving the B car or late street stocks or something, because I one out of about the last 20 races, I have not gotten up wanting to break something because of just the way the other drivers treat you.
Yeah, so this is based off of, we had a post from Jordy Lopez. Says really hard to enjoy NIS nowadays, but yeah, I mean, Dave, I agree. I think it's a function of the car. It's very hard to pass. I said last night, I mean, we're basically out there. Everybody's running the same lap times. So you have to get aggressive on restarts. You have to drive more aggressive than I'm comfortable doing. It's just not my style. It bit me last night. I let guys go, and you know what? 2 laps later, you get back to them, and you run them down, and then they're just going to defend and block and everything else. And yeah, no, I agree. It is getting very frustrating. I'm not to the point yet, but it is. Again, we've talked about it before. It's racecraft. There is none, unfortunately. But I really think this car is just a function of that, and it's a symptom. Because I've run B races, and I think the B races are fine. They've been fine, the ones I've run. I really think it's the car is the primary problem.
So Sunday, NASCAR, I'm not watching the race, but I'm following it by watching what you guys are chatting about in the chat during the event. And I see you guys typing up, wow, this is just like NIS. And it is. And so I want everyone to have a perspective. Don't hate on the NIS, hate on the NASCAR product, because all iRacing is doing is mimicking what they have. And they're doing a fabulous job for it. They're doing a great job of mimicking what NASCAR is doing.
Yeah, but
Look, that's all we asked for.
I know, but it's the problem is it's still the people that are holding the wheels. That's still the issue, and we cannot do the things that they do. I got wrecked last night because someone wants to side draft like they're a lunatic. It just doesn't work. You can't do it when you've got net code.
Yeah.
You just can't. I mean, you can't. And at some point, you have to realize that. But again, it's that's yeah. We see him do it on Sundays, so I could do it in the sim. First of all, I don't think the side draft is that great anyway. It's not with the cup car to begin with. I mean, even in never mind.
I would
It doesn't,
disagree.
it
I would
doesn't
disagree
speed you
with
up.
that.
Yeah, it doesn't speed you up. What it does is it slows the other guy down.
Yeah, it does drag them back. It doesn't do. It's not the effect 100% that you get on like you see on a Sunday product.
I know, but again, the issue is you know, you know, Dave, we could get out and get our cars, real life cars, right beside each other, and unless we move over, we're not going to have an issue. That doesn't work in the sim. It just doesn't work. I'm racing in Virginia, and I'm racing somebody that could be across the country or across the world. It's just there has to be some sort of I don't know, decency or some sort of. You just have to take that into consideration.
But there's nothing to be done unless somebody starts refereeing, and they're not going to referee it. And then when you start refereeing it, then you run into the problems you run into with a lot of leagues.
Well, they have. Hey, I have my opinions is going to be a little bit skewed. I won my race last night, so it's kind of a little bit, but I still had a lot of problems in that room. Obviously, we had 13 cautions for 40 laps, and if we didn't have the quick cautions, that would be what, another extra lap, right? So you'd have 53. That would have been 53 laps of a 160 lap race under caution on a, what does it take, 2 minutes and 9 seconds to go around under caution. But guys were, the problem is I think people need to start looking in the mirror. What was the thing that you were talking about? Analyze in that video. Analyze something on yourself. I heard so much bickering in that race that it was your fault. It was your fault. I never once heard somebody say, "Hey, sorry, my bad," or something like that. It was always, "You did it. You don't know how to race. You have no racecraft. I'm so sick of NIS and their racecraft. I don't know how to do like just shut up and look yourself in the mirror. Look yourself in the mirror and say, "Hey, it's my responsibility to get around somebody." And it's also, I don't know, I was very frustrated. I had to come through the pack a couple times in it. Watching some of the racecraft, like, someone screws up off the corner and they try and make sure that trying to beat you down the straightaway when they've lost momentum. Well, you just can't. But they need to. This is the NASCAR products, for like Mike was saying, fault. They need to go to horsepower. And that's never going to happen. They're just relying on this car to have so much corner speed that it's not hard to drive. Everybody can buy a setup. Everybody can do whatever around these corners. Every lap time's the same. Like Brad was saying, you run, once you get strung out, you run the same lap times. If you do run the guy down, they pinch you down on the corner or something like that. It's just, we never had these issues when you had 900 horsepower. There was minor things, but you'd weed the people out pretty quickly with the horsepower, and you could also
The talent
compensate.
would separate everybody.
Yes, there is no talent to this car. Let's put it this way: I've raced twice since I got a brand new set of pedals that I have nothing tuned on, not very many laps on. Brad, we talked about a setup for a couple minutes last night, and I went and dominated a race that, like, so what does that tell you? There's no actual skill to what we were doing. Like, I'm not saying that I do have some skill, but I'm not saying that we it's embarrassing as a sport or as a thing when you see all these guys, the way that they race, and then they treat each other too. Like, it's just that I blame COVID. I still blame all COVID for all this stuff. The extra people, we praise them for all these extra people, but I think it made it worse too.
I think you hit it on the money more when you said it's at the car. You mentioned people not taking the blame for anything. The guy that both me and Brad had a problem with, it was the same guy. He was unapologetic, and he said, "Yeah, that was my fault." But he also said something to a third guy who called him out for blocking it, and he's like, "Yeah, well, I ain't getting freight trained, and yeah, well, I had to take it. I had to take it." He literally says it's just the way you have to race this car, and he's actually not wrong. As mad as I was at him, he's not wrong. It's the way this car is. It's just turned everybody into assholes.
Yeah, and that's the problem. And it's, and you have to you got to decide, either you're going to be the guy that uses somebody up, or you're going to get used up. And that's hard for me. It's hard for me to be the guy that will use somebody up, because that's how we never had to race. Being someone who's raced in real life, you don't do that. I mean, you got to race with somebody every single week. You don't do that. It's just, well, look, it's not just NIS. Watch a Coke Series race. They do the same thing there. I mean, the Coke Series has turned into a caution fest. And again, I think we're back to the problem's the car.
So, you have that one guy that, everyone has a problem with. And sometimes when I have a problem with that one guy, I usually like to call him out. And the way that I approach that is your reputation, dude. You have no reputation, man. The way you race, you have a bad reputation. Nobody's, at least I'm not, rubbing against people as I pass them. At least I can get around somebody without touching them, and then make them feel like that. Now, as you guys were talking about this, I was trying to think, how could you fix it? I don't know if it can be fixed without a different car, but what if iRacing said, you know what, we're going to cut the chat for a few weeks in these official races, no driver chat?
I think
would that make a difference?
I think you'd had even more intentional wrecking at that point, because some people are, at least if they can get it off their chest, are not going to go hit them.
Good Lord, would I not want to stay around for the end of that race with people typing at the end trying to get their point across?
Look, it's they're accidents and they happen, and I get it. And the biggest way to cure the issue is to apologize. Just apologize. I mean, I ran an IPSA race this past weekend, and the guy ran me off. Really ran me off the road, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" And within a lap, he's like, "Hey, that was completely on me. I'm so sorry." Okay, move on. I'm good. I'm good. You said I'm sorry, and I'm fine with that. The second time I got wrecked last night, the guy's like, "Hey, I'm pretty sure I washed up, and that's on me." Okay, yeah, I'm mad that I got wrecked, but at least somebody took ownership. But the bigger problem is nobody wants to do that. I typically, if I get into somebody, I may apologize. I'll say something, but I want to go back and look at the replay before I start accusing anybody of doing anything.
All right, I think we've beat that dead horse till it is tender meat now. So let's move on. Title idea. Let's move on. John, since you kind of kept quiet during most of that, you get the next topic.
Yeah, people don't want to hear me rant about that because I have too much to say. But so we've got another sim racing studio set up. It's called the Online Racing Center, and it is in Texas. looking for the city here. Austin, Texas. Yeah, it's a happening city right now. But they've got some sims set up. You can go in, like a lot of these we've seen. Uh, nice equipment, good looking studio, triple monitor setup, Sparko seats. I think those are maybe Asetek wheels they're using.
Yeah. Which I seem to see a lot. A lot of these sim centers are using Asetek product.
Full motion platforms too.
Maybe they get a deal with buying in bulk. Sorry,
The
John.
motion
No, that's fine.
appears to be Scorpion actuators, I believe those are.
Yeah, I think you're right, Mike.
I don't know, man. They need to open one up close to me. This looks like a great place for a date night with the wife.
I like it. So we have a picture here on the website of 5 in a row.
I can't
don't know
wait
if
to
you have
hear
more
what she
than
has to say about that. She's listening.
Here's your problem, Brad.
She's listening.
She already doesn't believe you can afford your sim equipment. How are you going to justify an entire another set of rigs, or do you think
No,
she'd actually change her tune?
I think what Brad's angle here is take her here, and then he can justify when he needs to buy actuators or things like this. I need this wheel to be better.
Now, here's what will be expected if you actually convert her. Buy me a damn rig. I don't want a ring. Buy me a rig.
Oh, I love it.
So look, this place in Austin, they're set up for the date night because I see a leather couch over on the side where the lady can sit while you race. I love the flooring. So they have like a steel plate looking flooring under the rig. And then they have a strip of red behind the rig, like this is the line you shouldn't go past unless you're driving. Like, perhaps if you're watching, you stand back in the red section.
Probably a
And then
rule.
beyond that is like a checkered flag look. Pretty cool.
I
Yeah,
feel like
price.
I've seen that way before. Like I've seen that type of flooring used. But anyway, sorry, John.
Now, so what do you think? Pricing. That's always to me the tough part here. So it says quick race, $30, about half an hour. $60 for the signature experience. That's about an hour. Ultimate race experience, $99. That's about 2 hours. I mean, do you think? Are people going to pay that? Is that too much?
Well, if you go to the movies now, look how expensive a 2-hour movie is.
If you go to the bar, how much do you spend on alcohol?
Look,
What if you go
people are going to pay it.
Go-karting? It's just go-karting's just as expensive.
Look, that kind of pricing, it's going to be a one-off. Like most people, they'll go karting once, twice, 3 times a year or something, as for fun. But you're not going to go every week, every single week, and that's what you need to keep one of these places in business. You need a group of people that are going to do it every week.
Well, you wonder if they have things like birthday parties and stuff like that would kind of help too, right? Or,
Well, they do have private
bachelor parties, things like that.
Leagues.
Date nights for Brad.
There you go. Oh, look, I think it would be cool. I mean, there's no chance that I would ever have a motion in my house. So I'd love the idea of going and spend $30 to get on a rig with motion. I think that'd be fantastic.
I mean, motion's only like $100 for Brad's wife. It's only like $100. It's okay.
There's another picture on the website that shows a wider view. They actually have 5 rigs on each side of the room. And then they have some little tables and chairs down the middle, so you can sit down with your date.
You wonder if you could, like, obviously down the road you expand. You could have like food or something like that. This is where I think you would have something like this added into like a go-kart facility or something like that too, right?
All right. So I just got the text from the wife. She said date night ? No.
So earlier today, I was driving and I went by. I didn't stop at. They were closed. The new Andretti go-kart fun center. They have video games and food and drink and go-karts and all that. And they have VR gaming. I think a place like that would be really good for something like this. If they had like 10 racing rigs, I'm sure they could incorporate it into their system. From what I know, they don't have anything like this.
All right, iRacing is continuing to work to patch Season 3 up. We got a small patch. This is patch 3 release notes, released on 7/12. And it's a lot of little things. Some work on the AI drivers, some work on the controls. They've had to disable SimMagic 360 Hz mode. They're continuing to test and debug to ensure it's working appropriately.
Which it's never been released yet, so I was a little confused with that.
Was it not enabled at some point, though?
No, it was in the original release notes for the season, but it was never enabled.
Then why are they saying it's disabled?
I don't know, because, well, SimMagic just released updated firmware that will allow it, but it still hasn't been released by iRacing.
Right. Then there's a lot of little small, mostly graphics glitches, some damage model fixes in a large variety of cars. A couple of small.
The one that caught
changes.
my eye was the first one. Drivers registering in an open practice that's a non-team event will no longer see the number of teams registered, only the number of drivers. We've all been in that practice before where it says how many drivers registered, how many teams. Well, you're not going to see that anymore. You'll just see the drivers.
Which makes sense, because all that's telling you at that point is how many spotters are registered for the race.
Heard that last night. I got guys watching.
How come we can't be a team like that where we have guys watching? Can we get bigger so we have guys watching?
Well, I've given up on the stream thing too, because man, I haven't seen it be over more than one in the last 3 months.
It's either me or Bobby.
Or me. I've watched you twice this week and watched you get crashed. It's like watching myself race.
Yeah, you have viewers. You have John and Bobby.
I don't count, apparently.
I'll just stream it on Discord then. So who will your navigator be, Brad?
Yeah, so we had a Instagram post here from Team Redline, and we've got a fantastic video of Max Verstappen giving us a turn-by-turn track guide, basically to Spa. I'm not sure which car this is. I'm not a big open wheel guy, but just fun to watch him walk you through each corner. Like a typical track guide, he'll tell you, how do you need to run here, stay wide, watch the apex. It's kind of interesting to hear him, talk about you can lock the fronts up, you can lock the rears up. So, yeah, pretty neat.
He pulling the double header this weekend? I'm guessing he is.
I guess
Yeah,
it
why
depends on
wouldn't
his owner.
Well, they're in Hungary this weekend. I think it might be the last race before summer break for them too.
I don't know. Is his elbow healed from the last time?
Well, look, last time was the challenge was getting the equipment set up in the bus for the first time, and
Flower truck.
Did you see
right,
the
but it's already
images?
there.
Did you see the images from Hungary this week? They got flooded.
So I expect him to race both. And what, like you said about him doing the track map, man, he actually does a really good job, and you can kind of get a sense of why he is fast, why he is an alien. The way he uses up all of the course from one end to the other as he goes through the corners. He mentions, where to stay off curbs or where to hit curbs, that kind of stuff.
I was wrong. They have one more race after this, and then they go on their summer break. They have Spa next weekend.
Well, if you look at the video, that's not a sports car. That's a Formula car.
He knows a thing or two about those.
All right, Mike, we had a Coke race.
And we have our first time winner, Daniel Falkingham. He holds off a fast charging Steven Wilson for his maiden eNASCAR Coke Series iRacing win at Indy. And it was a split strategy near the end, where several stayed out and several went for tires. And Wilson was coming on tires basically, and Falkingham was the guy who stayed out. I think if he had another lap, he would have caught him, but he was right on him as they were coming to the line.
Yeah, that race finished in the nick of time for Falkingham because one more lap, and I'm certain Wilson would have got around him.
Our good friend of the podcast, Evan Pasoko, was not on the broadcast. It kind of threw me off. It was another guy. I don't even know who it was.
So can we say that Steven Wilson perhaps probably the likely champion this year? Do we think he can repeat?
Well, the way the playoffs work, you gotta run well in the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, he's still running hot right now, so I would say yes.
Yeah, I mean he's in the mix every single week.
So they'll have one round of playoffs and then the championship, right? The final race. Isn't that how it
Well,
works? There's 4 playoff
they're
races.
going to narrow it down to 4, just like NASCAR does for the final. I
But-
don't know how many are in the playoff.
But they have 3 playoff races and then the final, I believe. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, I think that's right.
So he's definitely gonna have an easy route into the final with all the bonus points he's got. Just like sometimes if you're, the season leader and have racked up a lot of states points in real life, you don't have to be too worried in that first round.
Well, that and he's been quick every week. I mean, he's in the top 3 of it seems to be the top 3 almost every single week.
Do they finish at the same track this year?
Homestead last year, wasn't it?
So that's the 9th different winner, and Wyatt Tinsley is 20th in points. You have to be top 20 too, as well as have that win. But Malik Ray, who was a winner this year, he's 22nd in points, so he's on the outside looking in. So he's got to bump himself up into the top 20 for him to get in. That's going to bounce out somebody that hasn't gotten a win that's in the top 12, like Graham Boland sitting on the cut line there.
Well, check this. It's actually, do you see the difference in the points between 20 and 22nd? It's only 2.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it could be Wyatt, Malik, so Wyatt and Malik are going to have a race here as they go into the playoffs.
That's pretty cool. They're on the bubble with the win, kind of, sort of. And they could still both technically get up there as well. I still have not gotten around to looking up to how the season 3, like winning a segment, how that affects it as well. Does that count as a bonus points in the playoffs, or does it give you bonus points?
It helps you in
your
the
regular
playoffs,
points?
yeah.
Okay. So that doesn't really matter so much. But you mentioned bonus points in the playoffs. Steven Wilson is also leading the points in stage 3 after 4 or 5 rounds. He's at 151, and then the rest of the top 5 is Graham Boland, Parker White, Garrett Lowe, Michael Casey, and Bobby Zielinski. That's actually the 6, and I went that far because there's a dotted line. I'm gonna guess that means the top 6 get bonus points. That's just a guess, though. Overall standings, it is Steven Wilson with basically about a race lead for the overall series points. Parker White, Vicente Salas, Nick Ottinger, Bobby Zielinski. Vicente has 1 win. Steve has 3. Zielinski has 2. We also have Tucker Minner with 1. Garrett Lowe with 1. Daniel Falkingham with the 1. Daniel Duvall with 1. And Wyatt Tinsley and Malik Ray each with 1, sitting on the bubble of that top 20. Okay, this is coming up both in iRacing and real life. October 26th, 24, Martinsville Speedway is hosting the MX5 Cup.
Wait, Mazda MX-5s on an oval?
Yes.
Yeah.
In real life.
Yeah, so they
wait, this is
tested.
kind of unique because
Yeah.
this started on iRacing before real life, right?
Yeah, well, they were actually out here, I think, last fall or so with a couple cars. Dale Jr., maybe Bobby Labonte were testing cars at Martinsville. So they've done it in real life.
And I think Mooncar did a 24 hours of Martinsville as well, and so that was a success. And I do believe that iRacing has a special event later in the year for us to run Mazda Cup on Martinsville.
July
And
30th
yeah,
through August 4th, Martinsville MX 500.
all right. So Mazda Cup is pretty cool. I've never really considered it on an oval before, but why not?
Well, used to run a convertible series way back in the day. NASCAR did.
Now, why does this follow under the IMSA umbrella instead of a NASCAR umbrella? That was the other question I got when I saw this announcement.
Because it's an
a
IMSA
sports
series.
car.
Oh, because the MX-5 is currently under IMSA. Okay.
Don't they race in the Michelin Challenge Cup or whatever?
No,
Oh, they have
no.
their own thing.
Do they? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the Wheeler MX5 Cup. So fantastic racing. So you can catch it on YouTube, the IMSA channel, Racer TV. Really, really, really good racing.
Yeah, I saw them race at Sebring. Holy cow! You could throw a blanket over the top five.
All right, we have an iRacing 101 article. This one, most of us have had to kind of learn through, I guess, just digging through the menu and learning the process. But it basically is Team Racing 101, which is pretty appropriate because a lot of people are going to be coming in and doing the spa this weekend, the spa 24. So it covers things like what are teams, how do you join a team, how do you create one or yourself or edit it. Once you're on a team, how do you go racing? And this process has changed a few times. Also, where can you run team races? What series run it? Go ahead. I think it was that Greg that was typing in.
Why does it take 6 years for them to come up with a tutorial of something that, like, every single thing is? It's like a NASCAR rule. We'll just come up with it whenever we want.
Well, look, I think it's good that they're finally doing something. Otherwise, you just got to go to YouTube and you hope you find somebody that can figure it out.
You know what
I
we're
mean-
gonna get 5 years from now? A tutorial on how to set up rain in a session. That's
They've done that already.
I'm just kidding. It was a joke.
Well, now that you mentioned that, here's we
Damn it, Brad.
discovered you didn't make it, but me and Brad made a session to go practice in rain, and I was like, well, I want to get into the heavy rain really fast, so I'll just have it start immediately with heavy rain, and just go, and we literally the squall line hit. So this is essentially think a thunderstorm has just hit. You know, when it's dry and then whoosh, the bottom just falls out. That's what it did. It started raining when I was close to the start finish line. I could not complete the next lap on the slicks. It got so wet so fast. It was up to, I think, 66% wet track before I got back to the pits.
The other thing the article teaches is how to figure out how to drive fair share. So as a team, everybody has to drive a fair share. So how many laps is it? Well, there's a formula here basically that tells you how to calculate that. So look, if you're new to iRacing and you're doing a team event, these kind of things aren't documented anywhere, really. I mean, it's kind of hearsay, right? Until they write it down on paper.
Oh, it is. I mean, if you guys remember at Daytona, we had an issue where one of the teammates couldn't make it, and I spent probably an hour trying to figure out exactly what fair share was, and understanding that we were going to get DQ'd. But I mean, it took me forever to try to understand what it was. So, look, and again, this is the stuff that needs to be easily accessible in the UI. There ought to be a button somewhere in the UI that says iRacing 101.
Yeah,
Why is it not there?
They basically probably need to put somebody on the manual. They're kind of building it up now because this is something that's been missing for a long time. But there basically needs to be just kind of like the sporting code with a table of contents and everything, an iRacing manual. And they need to compile all this in one place. That is one thing that's really nice over on Digital Combat Simulator. Is every time they put out a new module, whether it's the Super Carrier or the F-18, you get a whole manual, and it's basically like a military flight manual. It tells you everything you need to know.
So now that they've put out this public website, Google's going to index this. It'll be searchable. AI will pick it up. AI will be able to learn from this. So that same Google search you were doing before, Brad, might be a lot easier now that they actually put out this article.
Yes, but
It should be
why
on
isn't it in the UI? Why isn't it in the UI? That's where it ought to be.
My question is I haven't created a hosted session in a while or anything like that. When you scroll over top of anything in there, does it tell you what it's doing? Like give you a description of what this is? Like say you're trying to, I don't know, let's just say you don't want to put any damage on. And I know you don't have to describe what that is, but does it give you any descriptions of what any of the buttons do?
Tooltips.
I think, but I guess I kind of already know, so I don't pay attention.
Does it do what it does in like the setup screen where it tells you what the like adjusting the shock will do? Does it do that type of thing?
Stand by. I'm just gonna go create a race right now.
I've just never done it.
Yeah, I'm in here right now, and outside of the, up on the top, you've got the, race information, server details. It pops up that, but I don't see anything else.
See, I think when they're making stuff, they need to each one of those things should have a bar telling you exactly what it does.
Well, there are some items like on Create a Race, on the Create a Race tab, there's a little blue question mark that you can hover over. All right, like for consecutive caution restarts, it's more like details. When a caution is triggered, immediately following. So on some things, it does have that. Yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah. To Brad's point, maybe the UI needs a learning portal, like a section where you can go and do a query. You can, take a 101 lesson.
There's an old school word we use for that called the instruction manual. All right.
Nothing comes with instruction manuals anymore. They all have like QR codes to get to them.
Well, that's just to save paper. Even like you go to a play nowadays, our plays, instead of printing programs, we just put a QR code on a bunch of the backs of the seats, which cost paper, and you scan it.
The more expensive paper.
No, you can print QR codes on.
That was a joke.
Plain old copy paper.
If it was a sticker.
All right, so I'm scrolling on the wrong page. iRacing is now hiring, John.
Yes, they are. And if you have a bachelor's degree in computer science, engineering, or a related field, iRacing wants you. They're looking for a technical project manager for their web. I see these things, and by the way, I think it's great iRacing puts these in the forums, because it would be great if you're an iRacer to go to work for a company like this. But I'm still waiting for that post that they want a lawyer. They're not going to do that, are they?
I'm sure they have a firm that works for them.
Come on. Yeah, you can do it. You can do it, John. Come on.
Maybe that's I'm in their related field category. I don't know anything about web development.
Get on retainer. That's all you got to do.
Email Greg West and say, hey, do y'all need lawyers?
Surely there's something I can do, but they says competitive salary and benefits, including dental, eye care, health care, and a discretionary 401k match. So there you go, folks.
So, believe it or not, I actually sent an email in and applied for one of these jobs once. It was like competitive director or something like that. I didn't get it, of course, but I think Travis Sullenberger got the job at that time. But it's kind of a dream, It's like, wow, that would be kind of cool to work for iRacing.
So, Greg, what's the best way to troubleshoot a problem in any software? Particularly for developers.
You asking me?
Yeah, he's giving me a face like he hasn't read the next article yet. I'll read it. All right. Special 1 week road dirt.
Oh, I see what you're talking. I thought I did not pick that one up.
Yeah, it's a little behind the scenes. When y'all are wrapping the discussion, I'm already looking at the next article coming up with the transition. And that time I just went over your head. So that's on me.
Deer in the headlights.
Can you add that to the stream? Can you drop that in real quick? All right. Special 1K Week Dirt Road Series is going to be running an unofficial series at Lucas Oil Off-Road Pro 2 Lights at Wild West Motorsports Park during week 6, which is 7/15 through 22. It's going on right now. It's called the 24 Hours to Fund, and it's to help them collect data for a server crash that's only being seen in this series.
So they have a problem. They can't recreate it. And so they need the public, us, to help them recreate the server crash. So they want the public's help to participate in an unofficial series because that's the whole idea. They're trying to get the server to crash so they can get data on what's going on so they can fix it. It only happens with this particular truck and track. And so, yeah, if you're looking for something to do this week and you see the 24 hours to fun, jump in and help a brother out.
Yep. And you would think, well, why can't they find this? Some things just don't show up until you scale it up. DCS just put out a patch, and I fly with one of the guys who tests for them. He also actually races with us some. And he said he was telling us about the test session they were doing yesterday, and all of the issues that were coming up just did not show up during testing. So during the beta testing.
Well,
so this happens.
Yeah, the way they do it is they have a production environment where we race. They have a development environment. The idea is they're the same. They're separate from each other. And so they do all their development and testing in the development environment, and then they push it out to us when they do the releases to the production environment. And so the idea is they're identical, so you shouldn't have to do this. But in reality, they are different. Like the production environment is hosted on Amazon servers, while I don't know where the other one's hosted, but it could be a different data center. But just that alone might be the difference between the server crashing and not crashing. So yeah, it's hard to figure out.
Okay, we can talk about events now. That was an event as well, wasn't it? All right, first up, we have the iRacers Lounge Dega 200. Chris, will you tell us about that?
Who's Chris?
I know he'll be listening, so this is a call out to Chris to get his butt on the show with his event. Come talk about his events.
Yeah, Chris has been voluntold to organize our events this year, so he's been doing a great job. We have a nice little flyer here about the race, and the idea is this is a NIS replacement for Wednesday night. So Gen 4 at Dega, come race with us, guys. You got plenty of notice. We want to fill the room.
And I think you can practice for this right now. I believe this is what's on iRacing for this car right now for this week.
That's what, 2 weeks away, right? That's not next Wednesday. It's the following one, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So sign up sheet at the bottom. So guys, get to hit the Google Docs, sign up, so we know who's coming.
All right, Brad, try to skip the ones that we have listed as articles, but what else is on this week in iRacing?
Let's see. So we already talked to. Well, no. Let me go on. IndyCar Series. So IndyCar Series open setup will be at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. That will be in the normal events.
Montreal.
Montreal, that's right. So we got the F4, FIA Esports, regional tours. Americas will be at Laguna Seca. Asia Pacific will be at Sandown, and Europe will be at Sachsenring. And we've got the Global Endurance Tour. They will be at the Autodroma Jose Carlos Pace Grand Prix. So again, that's the 24-hour race.
That's going to be it's probably the most MC endurance race ever because it's the same weekend as Spa.
Yeah. So, if you remember last weekend, weekend before last was the Daytona Global Endurance. They got canceled, or well, at least some of them didn't go off. But yeah, the normal Draft Masters, Race Masters, and all that stuff. So I do like these. These come out every single week and just kind of gives you a quick hit of what is going on.
All right, so going on now is the Brickyard 400. We had our open last night, and there was one this morning or this afternoon at 2 as well. If you don't know your NS times, it's 2 my time. Isn't it 3 Eastern?
Yep.
Then there will be a Friday night at 9 and a Sunday morning at 10. I don't know the mix or the fixed times. And the Spa 24 has come out this weekend. I'm not going to dive into the details, except for the balance of power.
Now, on the BOP, David, a lot of traction in the forums talking about what's the BOP? What's the BOP? Because Greg West didn't release it until today, Thursday before the race. Greg said they were all tied up with the charity event last night, which, by the way, I think raised almost $40,000. And so they didn't release the BOP till today. There were a lot of people screaming in the forums for the BOP.
Now, there was already a preliminary BOP. This is an update to it.
So is what's in the original post been updated, or do I need to dig through 14 pages to find it?
No, they updated the original, I think.
Yeah, because it's basically your sticky, so to speak.
Okay.
So the Audi's -2 power, -1 fuel. BMW -1 power, -1 fuel. These are going to be all negative numbers, so I'm just going to call them out without saying minus. Corvette, 1.5 power, 2 fuel. I think that was already that way. Ferrari, 2 fuel. Ford, 2 fuel. Lamborghini, 1 fuel, 2 power. McLaren, 1 power. Mercedes, 2 power, 1 fuel. And Porsche, 1 power.
So from what I've seen on the forums, seems like the Ferrari is the go-to car for this event.
And they changed it to, I think I overlooked, 3.25 power. I think they bumped that up a little bit more because it's been running in the Sprint series, and they've been able to pull data from that. Now, is it going to affect our splits? I don't think so. I can't tell the difference other than how they feel. I kind of like how I used to love how the Ferrari GTE felt more than any other car. I've been practicing in the not the Hurricane, the Corvette, and I like it. I have to you can't put too much wheel in it or it'll just spin out even if you're not touching the brakes. But I've trained enough on it now that I'm not doing that. So, but you get somebody like Max, and he could would make a difference in his lap times based on the cars.
Oh, absolutely.
There's Mike, I don't know if you noticed, there's one interesting one here. The IndyCar butt kicker qualifier got moved back or moved a week, and it's tonight again. Obviously, it started just 3 minutes ago, um, our time here. So they've moved everything up or back one more week. But I guess they had problems last week when the qualifier went live.
So do they shift?
DDoS, yeah.
They shift the entire schedule a week.
Yeah.
But and then the Road to Pro race didn't go off as well, and that got rescheduled, or they're skipping it. I don't know which.
They better not fuck with Spa.
I wouldn't mind getting another shot to run that in Daytona in the rain. We practiced their butts off on that.
Podcast housekeeping, leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform to make it easier for more listeners to find us. Mention the podcast to your fellow drivers so they don't miss out. We would appreciate it. Check out our Discord. Get involved in the discussion. I've been sharing all my computer purchase details and trials and tribulations over there. Come get involved. It's pretty fun. Also, we have the iRacersLounge.com, where Brad and I work really hard on the script to provide you listeners great links and visuals to go with the podcast. So watch the script while you listen to the show. And we're in regular rotation at Performance Motorsports Network. Get your merchandise at iRacersLounge.shop.
So it's fantasy time. Not Greg. Brad, will you tell us how many people said "Oh no" last week?
Yeah. So coming out of Pocono, we had North South Racing with the win. Mike Owuju was second. Hey, look, Mighty Penn was third. Res Dog fourth. Fifth was Chris Bates. So, or tied for fifth, Chris Bates and Team Dwan. So Pocono, kind of a typical Pocono race in my opinion. Not a whole lot of outside of a couple accidents. You know, we commented earlier that as the race started to wind down in our chat, it was turned into a typical NIS race. Is what it looked like. But you know, again, I don't I don't go into Pocono with high hopes of super fantastic side by side racing, but it was Pocono in my opinion. It's a decent race.
I think my takeaway was, when is the Corey LaJoie experiment going to end? I mean, this guy has not won a race ever. And,
Well,
now he's getting a crew chief, and
he's we already know. So I'm not a Corey LaJoie fan, but I will defend him to a degree. He has not been in very good equipment. However, Carson Hocevar is outrunning him every single week in the same equipment. So, yes, Roddy Childress goes there next year. I think this is the make or break year. So 2025, I think, is the make or break year for LaJoie. If LaJoie does not perform, then I have, he needs to go somewhere else. Look, Spire continues to spend money. That's fine with me, and I like it. They want to be better, and they're spending the money to get there. So excited for what could happen there. Look, Carson, I think, has got a tremendous amount of talent. It's just got to be contained a little bit. So he can. He just, he loses his cool at times, and if you can contain that talent, I think Carson Hocevar can be a extremely good driver.
How has Corey LaJoie ever won any races?
There was a go-kart race once.
He hasn't won in any of the series?
not in any of the top three, no.
No.
So what makes him any different than Danica Patrick or Haley Deegan then?
Last name.
He's been here forever. I mean, he's had his opportunity. I mean,
everybody's ripping her apart and them apart for the way that they went in and out. They just got kicked out faster. Anyways, I just just defending.
look, the situation with Kyle Busch, the first hit, that's one thing. That second hit, that's That shouldn't have happened. I mean, he took him out.
He did, and I think in hindsight, I mean, he said on his podcast that he made a mistake. I mean, that's what it is. But look, I would hate to. If I'm Corey LaJoy, I would hate to see the 8 coming in my mirror because the interview that Kyle gave was not Kyle. So
that was Kyle not trying to make it obvious that he's going to go after him at some point.
Well, look, I think I texted in the chat that I have never ever been a Kyle Busch fan, but he makes it harder and harder not to like him in the last few months.
I've always liked him.
It's just funny.
He usually doesn't take that kind of stuff. So, but you can't talk about it. You can't admit to it, or you get fined.
I was kind of upset with some of the podcasts this week. A lot of the analysts let him off the hook, whereas other guys get reamed out a little bit. They kind of let Corey off the hook this week.
Well, it's just the continued inconsistency of NASCAR. End of the day, that's the issue. Every series has a different person running the race, and I get that, but again, it's typical NASCAR is the most inconsistent officiating, I think, of any sport. Absolutely.
My question is maybe it's not Kyle Busch that gets him back. Maybe it's one of those guys that got taken out too, right?
Right. And so who do you like for Indy as the NASCAR series returns to the big oval?
Probably anybody that was good at Pocono.
So I'll say Ryan Blaney.
Yeah, I mean, Toyotas were good at Pocono.
This is a big engine problems.
Yeah, they've had a few. Look, this is a big one, I think, on Denny's bucket list. Not a Denny fan, but I think Denny wants this one bad.
Larson.
Yeah, but look, I there's a reason we left the oval. It's because it did not produce good racing. I hope that things are different with this car, but I got a feeling it's going to be somewhat of a ho-hum race.
Right.
I wonder if it gets to the end, if they do have 10 to go with a caution or something like that, and it just turns into a shit show.
It's going to be track position. You're going to have to be in the lead to win this because nobody will be able to pass the leader.
You have to be in the lead to win.
Yeah, I mean it's Indy. That's the way Indy's always been. So again, it's the prestige of winning at Indy is what it comes down to. So, all right, to close out fantasy, our overall league standings, we've got Canadian in first with 41.67, followed by iRacing Mason. Third is Dollar Cents. Fourth is Res Dog. Fifth is North South Racing. And our boy Tyler has jumped back into the top 10. Fat Boy 1990 with 39.14.
Does that mean if Canadian wins this, it'll be coming north of the border?
The points may be wrong. I'll check with NASCAR.
Oh, there's a currency converter.
That's right. It's points converter, just like currency. You're right.
Point 135 or 1.35.
Yeah. See, you're cheating. You get more points.
Blame Canada. All right, let's talk hardware. The first thing we have is Delta Sim Tech at the ADEC 2024. Mike.
Yeah. ADEC Sim Racing Expo is showcasing that a new company, Delta SimTech, at least new to me, will be there. Their spiel is no replicas, just unique high-end sim racing products tailored to your needs, all hand-assembled in the UK, ensuring the highest quality standards. They show a picture of a Formula wheel here with a screen on it. It's your typical look. It kind of looks like the Sim Labs one, but yeah, typical wheel. Don't have a lot of info on it, but we'll have to wait for the Sim Racing Expo to learn more about Delta Sim Tech. Now, I'll jump right into the next one because this is the big story of the show. Mercedes has teamed, well, I'll say it, Mercedes AMG Petronas F1 team has teamed up with SimLab to create a brand new replica wheel of their Formula One car. And it is stunning. It says crafted from actual F1 CAD files for the ultimate sim racing experience. Wow.
Nope, 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 nope.
And that's the $2,500 price you're noping to?
That would be it.
But look, there's a handful of wheels that cost $2,500-ish. This one enters that handful of wheels. This may be the best one out of all of them as far as the way it looks. I love the carbon fiber print on the front of it. It's a kind of a smaller print than normal. I love the rotaries at the bottom. Very Formula One-ish look.
Well, it would be since it's the replica of the Formula One reel, right?
Well, exactly. Yeah. I guess my point is these other high-end wheels don't have this look, this same F1 look.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
Better to spend it on your pedals.
I would, yeah, between pedals and the bass. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm, yeah, I'm big quiet.
Well, actually,
Now
there's
we have a go
ahead,
ahead.
Mike.
I was going to mention the video. You go ahead, John.
Well, I was just going to say it's the price isn't as bad as you think. I got on the website and there was a pop up that came up that if I put in my email address, they'd knock $20 off of it.
$20? How generous!
I couldn't believe it. $20 off of this.
And so Jaxer on YouTube put up a video about the wheel being put up for sale, and he kind of talks about how do you cost justify this? You don't. You don't cost justify it. If this is your thing and you have the money and you can afford it, it is the right price. They will sell some of these, and so some of these replicas can be very expensive.
They're brilliant with that $20 off. I think that's going to be the difference maker.
Yeah, I was out until that. Thanks, John. Heading to the website right now.
Anything I can do to help the listeners save a buck,
But look, that one Porsche wheel is about the same price. The Porsche branded one. This one, to me, looks way better.
Well, you're look. I mean, we've talked about this before. You're paying for the licensing. That's what you're paying for. It's like anything else. Look, I have an MPI wheel. Why? Because I wanted an MPI wheel. Okay, that's why I wanted it, because it's an MPI wheel, but it wasn't $2,500.
But I do think
You have a
Mike's right.
replica wheel.
There's a market for this. They're not going to sell 1 million of them, but I don't think that's their goal. There are people who want these replicas, and there are people out there who can afford it that'll spend the money on it. They're not looking to sell this wheel to me, but there are people who will buy it.
There are. So, and just in case you guys wanted to know, since you like to try to spend my money, the wife already texted me and she said, "Nope, not in this house."
Well, if you happen to buy a SimMagic GT Neo, you might be having trouble with the firmware update. So they've put out a tutorial video that apparently will handle several different situations.
Yeah. So look, I'm a SimMagic base guy. And I like SimMagic, but some of their stuff is a struggle to figure out sometimes. Not the best documentation. So this is good. I don't have the GT Neo. I like the wheel. I think it's a fantastic wheel. But yeah, I'm on their Discord quite a bit, and there's lots of questions here and there. So good on them for putting out a tutorial.
Well, wait, good. You say it's good, but I say it's bad that they even have to have a tutorial. The software should be good enough, understandable enough, easy enough to use that nobody has any questions on how to use it. It just it's easy to use. It's straightforward. And the reason they have to do these tutorials and the stuff is because their software is clunky and hard to use. So yeah, they got to do better. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think you're right, Mike. I mean, I've got some Magic pedals, and I like them, but I bought the haptics to put on the throttle and the brake, and the software for it's not good, and that bothers me. I can't get these things set up right, and there's no easy, quick way to get to a tutorial to do it, but I shouldn't have to find one. I shouldn't have to go to Discord and beg somebody to help me out.
No, I agree. And it's gotten better. They just released an update for the bases, and it was probably the smoothest firmware update that I've had. As far as being able to install it and everything with one click. It's not like it was where you had to go find the firmware, attach the file and do it all that. So it's getting better. Look, I think they're still somewhat of a work in progress. And look, those of us have been around for a long time. Things are a lot easier now than they used to be. I mean, to update firmware and do all that stuff was tedious. So again, I'm not here to defend them, and Mike, I agree. Like I said, that's why I end up on the Discord, because it's hard to find stuff sometimes.
I also want to digress a little and compare this. I think it's $300 something wheel to the $2,500 wheel we just talked about, and functionally, they pretty much do the same thing. Uh, to David's point, you can get by with a cheaper formula wheel. You don't need the $2,500 wheel. You can race with the $300 wheel. But that crowd that's going to buy that 2,500, they're the ones that have the motion. Those are the guys that have everything. They have the bazooka shifter and all that stuff, and they're like looking for the next thing to buy. Well, they just found it.
Well,
they can probably afford to be a gentleman driver in IMSA.
well, I mean, look,
You're buying that.
yeah, I mean, there are people that are brand specific. I mean, look, we see that, you see that in every facet of life. So if you're a Mercedes guy and that's what you do, then hey, why can't I drive with the same thing that Lewis Hamilton drives with, or anything? So, uh, I mean, again, Porsche, Chevy, whatever it is, there's people that are just they're dead set on having that.
Okay. Brad, I think we can only hope to see this next one in a racing center somewhere.
Yeah. So we had a Instagram post from Supercar Blondie. This is a $50,000 simulator. It's made by Racemore, so she kind of gives us a walk through this.
$50,000.
If I had
This is a
$50,000 laying around, I probably still wouldn't spend it on this. It's cool. It's neat. I mean, you can customize it. You can do all kinds of great things, but yeah, no.
I'm no too, and this is a neat idea where you get everything, the entire cockpit, the monitors, everything is moving. Everything is up on these shock absorbers that it's moving the whole thing. So the monitor's moving. I just don't know how realistic that is. I mean, I'm sure they're mounted really well, but long term, I mean, no monitor is designed for this. You know what I mean? They're gonna fail. I would think the monitor would fail because it's being jarred about. It's pretty cool. I like the it's got like a cork board floor look. It looks like cork almost.
Oh, it's not
Gives it a
cork.
little
$50,000. It better not be cork.
Is it suede?
right
It's probably suede.
suede or something. Yeah, it's a fancy look. You know.
All right, if you're following on in the script, we've already talked about the next one, so I'm dropping on down. We have more bad news from a tech company. John, does Intel have problems?
Yeah, so I watched part of this video, but what is it? Apparently, the generation 13 and 14 Intel chips may have a stability issue. Uh, I avoided the deep, dark details of the tech stuff because I just don't have time for it. But I guess somebody's calling on Intel to fix this problem and quit blaming the motherboard manufacturers.
Yeah. And they're running so darn hot, these Intel 13th and 14th gen. And the guy in making the video was almost to the point of like, Intel should maybe like recall these, almost like they have such a problem. And he basically said no chip 13th or 14th Intel will last indefinitely. They are going to fail at some point. And he talks about people's experiencing RMAing them to Intel to get replaced and so forth. But yeah, this was a breath of fresh air, a relief that I picked AMD over Intel because I just about bought an Intel 14th gen and I ended up buying an AMD chip. And to see this video come out just literally days after I made my choice was a relief.
Look, I built a PC last year. I've got an i7 13 gen. Have not had an issue. No heat issues, no nothing. I couldn't even tell you that I have not had a single crash and nothing. So I don't know how much stock I would put into this.
Yeah, good point.
All right, this next item is interesting. It's called Modular Control Systems from MasterHub. It's a Stream Deck essentially, but with additional little pieces, and you can kind of design your own box, I guess, with putting in different options. Right?
It's more of a, from what I'm looking at too, it's more of based on, it's actually going after the market for video editing and sound editing as well. Software people too, because of how customizable the keys are, and with the rotary knob, what they had, what are they calling it, encoder.
Yeah, so you probably use that more in a live show than editing, because once you're on the screen, like something like Pro Tools, it would be more of a hassle to use something this little because you don't have enough knobs.
I know. I use a program for editing videos called DaVinci's Resolve, and I know that the company that produces that, they have their own actual module system, not module system, but studio keys thing that you can buy. You can buy them at like thousands of dollars for video editing.
With Pro Tools, you can actually buy an actual soundboard that directly connects to the PC and moves the sliders. But we're talking 24 channels or more,
I'm trying to figure out how much this actually is, because I just put my thing in for the email just to see if I could get a pricing on it.
So, I mean, is this like a Stream Deck replacement? Is that what we're looking at?
I think it is.
It's
yeah,
augmented. It's Stream Deck Plus, right? Because you got the Stream Deck style keys, but you also have either faders or knobs. And what is that bottom piece? Are those microphones? That really skinny narrow piece? I'm not sure.
So they look like rollers, thumb rollers.
Oh, something. Okay, yeah. So another control.
I was thinking, somebody who's streaming their racing, especially the one with the faders, that looks kind of useful. I mean, you got the Stream Deck buttons, You got 5 faders. Maybe you map all your audio to that. So you have the sub on one, you got voice on another, spotter on another, Discord on another.
I mean, I already had to do that with my button box, which has knobs.
So they actually offer it in like different kits too. They have a streaming kit, they have an audio kit, and then there's a streaming kit pro.
Yeah, where something like this can come handy, but I mean, you could accomplish the same things with button boxes. Some streamers are bringing in guests all the time and stuff online, and they can quickly control their volumes with that instead of having to do it on screen.
So I'm going through their little process here, and one of the questions that just came up: at what price point do you think the product is too cheap that you would question its quality? So they're trying to find what their market value is here by. They want to see what people are thinking this should be priced at.
That's a really odd question.
$5.
Oh no, I got you. There's only one value that belongs as the answer for this show: $20.
And then the next question, that came up was, at what price point do you think the product would be a great bargain for the quality?
Same answer: $20.
Well, so you can get the Stream Deck XL is about $250, and this, might have a little bit more features than that.
I feel like this one's going to be more. I feel like this one's going to be double the price of what a Steam Deck or Stream Deck is.
I bet you could probably get $20 off of it though. They can afford it if those wheel guys can.
This is Cooler Master who makes this,
and they make good products, but they are pricey.
And then they just asked another one. At what price point do you think the product is getting expensive, but you would still consider buying for?
$1.
All right, I'll pay $20 if we can move on to results.
Let's talk it. Results: NASCAR iRacing Series Friday Open Pocono. John P24.
Yep, P24, started P19. This is the only race I've done in the last 12 or 13 days. Took a little hiatus because I just couldn't take the wrecks anymore. But typical NIS race that we've seen lately, 31 out of 81 laps were under caution. I got creamed 5 times in this one. I didn't cause any of them and spent a lot of time in the pits to get repaired. I'd get the car fixed only to go out and get clobbered again and need more repairs. I mean, I don't want to complain too much, and we've already covered this, but NIS is a lot less fun than it used to be. And I'm not saying I'm going to quit. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, sometimes we'll get mad and say, I quit, I'm not doing this anymore, and we're back on the next day. But, these races, you're not safe anywhere anymore. Even if you're up front, you're going to get hit. And I think a lot of it is the car, but I think a lot of it is the drivers and the attitudes. We had one guy in this race that was blinking the whole time. He was probably told 20 times how bad he was blinking. His response was, F you guys, I don't care, I'm racing. Now, I know that's protestable, but after races like this, I just don't have the will to send a replay in. I give up.
Yeah, somebody will protest him, hopefully. All right, David Hall, wrecked out.
Was I on Friday? Did I? I don't think I have
what it
any
shows.
tattoo. Am I looking at the same page you are? It's blank on mine.
Friday Open Pocono.
I don't think David raced.
Yeah, I don't think I
Right.
raced.
That's what it shows. Chris Waldron, he got a P12, kept it out of trouble, and avoided several wrecks on the end. 5 to go. Restart. I was P9 and brought it home P12.
Okay, I'm sorry. I jumped in. I was on here twice for some reason. So yeah, wrecked out. Don't remember anything about it. It's just it happens every race.
All right. And Sunday Open, I'm going to digress a little bit. This was my first race after fixing my computer. So I got my new computer built. I got Windows on it. Got everything installed. I actually built it in the bedroom, and then I moved it into the living room where I have the rig, and iRacing wouldn't launch. It would launch, but it would crash the computer. And then I'd open NVIDIA control panel, and it would crash the computer. And so I couldn't figure out what was wrong. And so I went to repair Windows, and it crashed the computer. I couldn't even repair Windows or reset Windows, it's called. So I'm like, okay, I'm reinstalling Windows. We're just going to start fresh. So I did that, and it crashed in the middle of the reinstall. And so now I have an unbootable computer that I can't install Windows on. And I struggled for a long time, many long nights up to 1, 2 a.m. Bobby Jonas is a godsend. That boy has helped me so much, FaceTiming and just talking through the issues, trying to try different things. So I ended up deciding that my Windows installation USB disk may be bad. So I went out and bought a new one and got a new Windows. It didn't work. So I decided it was the hard drive. So I went out and bought another hard drive, put it in. It didn't fix the issue. So eventually we stumbled on to BIOS. I needed to go in there and do last known configuration or something, and it fixed it. And I was able to install Windows. So that was like at 2 a.m. on Saturday night, and the race was at 7 a.m., like 5 hours later. So I went to bed. I slept 5 hours. I got up. I jumped in the Sunday Open Pocono, and look, I hadn't had time to get everything set up really. And the shifter wouldn't work. I couldn't get the shifter mapped in iRacing. So I decided to map the shifting to two buttons on my button box. So here we are, coming to the green, lap 1. I try to get up through the gears, and I hit the wrong button, and I downshift, and I spin the car out and blow the freaking engine and finish dead last. My only start for the week, and I get like, I don't know, 5 points.
So let me a track where we're going to shift, and you thought it was a good idea to. I don't mean to pick at you.
A good idea, but look, I'm just trying to get some points every week, and this was the last start of the week, and I had missed all the other starts because I was out of town, and I have a new computer build and all this.
So
and I just wanted some points.
I get you, but why not grab your Formula wheel and use that? That seems like a better option.
Well, look, I'm running on 5 hours sleep. Yeah, you're right. Thinking backwards on it, I totally screwed up. And I wrecked people out, too. I mean, there were people that got caught up in my nonsense. I felt really bad. So, yeah, it's going to be a drop week at Pocono. David, you got wrecked out.
What do you expect?
All right. That was short and sweet. And then Justin was wrecked out from being a side drafting fool. His words. Greg, you got a P4.
Yeah, I was in the top 5 for like the whole part of that race, just trying to get accustomed to my new pedals. That was the first race on them, and it came down to a fuel mileage, and I was doing everything I could to save fuel, and we had a couple cautions late, and I just couldn't hold off the fresh tires near the end there. So P4, I'll take it. Yeah, it was a good race. It was a good tune-up for learning my new pedals.
Right, and then Bobby Jonas wrecked out. Ran a fairly clean race till restart with 3 to go. When fucktards lost their minds and just started doorbanging everything in sight. Would have been like 6th, even with the throttle not reaching 100% most straights. That takes us to Wednesday Open, Indianapolis Brickyard 400. I got a P15. I got a problem with my pedals not working right, so it was not comfortable. I was not the fastest out there, but I hung in there and got me a top 15. Yeah, so basically my pedals on the new computer, I can't get the calibration right. I run the little calibration tool from 10 years ago that I found on the forums for these particular pedals, and It's got a huge dead zone at the beginning, and I have to push really hard to get any kind of pedal movement at all. I don't know what to do about it at this point. I'm still struggling with that problem. David, P19.
Yeah, and it was just an irritating race. No long runs. No, we never had a green flag stop. People were just constantly doing stupid stuff. Towards the end, you'd run a guy down, and he'd fight you for 5 laps. And as you're doing that, you watch the guy in front of that was in front of both of you pull 5 seconds away. I had a Brad and I got taken out by the same guy. We're on a restart. There's 60 whole laps to go, and he immediately sends it when he's not beside me when I start to turn in for the corner. Did I come down and block it? No, I had no idea what was coming. It wasn't one of those. It was. I guess it was turn 3 on a restart. It wasn't one of those. Well, this guy has been running and showing his car. He just decided at the last second that since I didn't enter the corner too low, that he could go in and push me out of the way. I just don't feel like I want to do it anymore. Didn't this morning, and I don't know if I'll be back. We'll see. I won't say anything absolute because I'm an emotional person, and sure, I may feel differently tomorrow. But this morning, I just didn't feel excited about it. It's just not fun.
And then Justin, P2. I would give anything to have the last run back 10 to go. I was P10 when I entered pit road, and I was the only one that took the 2 tires, exited P2. On the restart, I passed the leader quickly, held the lead until the last lap, last turn. I could have driven the car harder. There was plenty left. I know I should be happy, but this is one that got away from me. I should have won. Oh well, heads up, try again. Brad, P2, P20.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of touched on this a little bit, like Dave said. So started P3, car was really top 10, just first half of the race. Just kind of try to bide my time, and we would pull out, top 10 cars. We'd gap by 3 seconds by the time we'd get, 20 laps into a run. Boom, come out of caution, start the process over again. So ended up getting wrecked twice. Again, the first was somewhat expected. I'm sorry. There's guys that you see them every week, and I hate to even attempt to pass. I do because I know what's going to happen. So it is what it is. Second was unintentional. The guy just pushed up. He apologized, and I'm good with that. I mean, it ruined my race. I ended up getting turned off of 4, sliding backwards into pit road. So I end up with, multiple penalties and whatever. It's just what it is. Again, super frustrating night. Had a car that had great speed. Really should have been competing for the win. Had things gone the way they should have. So just, it's just, I can deal with people making mistakes, and I'm fine with that. It's just it's when it's the same people that make the same mistakes and act the same way every single week is what's frustrating with NIS.
And this particular guy didn't even call it a mistake. He said, "Yeah, I'm going to race like this." He said it.
Yeah, again, and that's where, David, I get the frustration. I really do. I really do, because it's the same bad actors every single week.
Right. So the agony of defeat and the thrill of victory. Greg, winner, chicken dinner. You get a crown jewel win. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's my first Brickyard 400. I was saying to Bobby this morning when we were texting, I said I've now won the Brickyard 400 and the Indy Road Race here over the last couple of years, but it was a good race. Way too many cautions. I was talking about that earlier. Way too many people blaming each other for every single caution. But I had probably the best car in it. I had the best strategy near the end that was going to win without cautions, but so I had the pole most laps led and the win, so I'll take the trifecta there for the first win of the season for me, and let's see how it goes. It's first win on the new pedals.
Didn't take long for the sim coaches to win, and your first win of the year in NIS. So I hope you can just keep up the momentum here and stack them.
I hope so. It obviously sucks now that we're going on a 2-week break, but I'll focus on some road racing and get used to doing it. I'm really looking forward to Spa this weekend with the boys.
Right now, Chris Waldron, he got a P13. Now, he was in my race as well as Tom Dreiling. I don't know how Tom finished, but look, my headset broke. That's something that happened over the weekend as I was building my computer. It literally cracked up here, and I couldn't even wear them anymore. And so I literally don't have a backup set of headphones or any kind of microphone. So I've been racing with no spotter, no communication with the team, including this race. And so it was hard for me and Chris and Tom to try to strategize. I mean, on cautions, Chris would text me some stuff, and we were kind of texting, but only under yellow. But I digress. He got a P13, took a gamble on fuel strategy, was leading with 20 to go, and was running low. Needed a caution and never got it. We took fuel and 4 tires, came out 18th, and drove up to 13th. Now, I followed his strategy. As we were approaching the end of the race, almost everybody pitted under green to get the fuel needed to finish the race. I stayed out till it ran out. Chris did as well. We cycled up to first and second. We pitted with 18 to go or something. I cycled out behind Chris. I worked my way up to finish 15th, and he got 13th. But good run for Chris.
Mike, could you hear us in Discord when you were in there?
Sorta. I mapped Discord to the main speakers, so when it was under green, I couldn't hear you, but under yellow, I could.
Did you hear the scoreboard talk?
No.
Oh, God, thank God. That was the longest, I don't know, I want to say 10 minutes of talking about a scoreboard.
You're welcome.
Oh, it's so hard to concentrate. We have so many guys in Discord, and they're all on different strategies or different cautions. And when they're gonna start talking, it was so funny though. Just a conversation about the scoreboard. I think Brad brought it up.
Guilty as charged.
Look, those are some long cautions. You got to talk about something.
Well, look, not to get into the scoreboard thing, but the one thing that I like about Indy is, in iRacing, is it's up to date. So it's pretty cool to go running down the front stretch and look up and you see your car number. So again, I think that's pretty cool.
All right, let's shift gears to FIA F4 Regional America Tour. I've been running. I ran Long Beach. I qualified 10th out of 19th. There was a big pileup in turn 1, lap 1. I slowed down, missed all of it. Came out of that turn P3, fell back to P5, but worked my way up to finish P2. Great finish for Long Beach. I'll take it. Next race, started 12th, got to 7th on the first lap, was able to finish P7. Next, we switched weeks, started 13th at Laguna Seca. Got to 11th after the first lap and worked my way up to finish P4. I'll take that. Second race, screwed up qualifying, started 18th. Got in a lap 1 incident where I had to pit for repairs. Came out 20th, worked my way back up to finish P12. Next race, wrecked out early. Next race, qualified 7th, finished P7. As far as the points go, I am leading Division 7 by 124 points. I think the guy in second hasn't actually started a race this week. That's why it's so much. So I'm kind of waiting for him to run to see if I'm indeed that far ahead. But, man, I've been kind of eyeing the rest of the 12-week schedule here. I want this championship. I really do. And I'm going to try so hard to win it. And A Open, Brad, P21.
Yeah, I ran Indy Tuesday night. Started 14th. Just kind of took it easy on the start. really just trying to get an idea of what Wednesday night was going to be like. Not surprised, very hard to pass. It's one of those things where if you start a pass and you don't complete it, you're kind of a sitting duck. So that led to a lot of the issues that we ran into last night with guys just throwing crazy blocks because they didn't want to get freight trained and whatnot. Race ended up, we had a long green flag run to the end, which we did get green flag pit stops in. I stayed out about an extra 2 laps. That was a mistake. Just lost too much time to the cars I was racing with. So, but top split, P21. I did learn quite a bit and just didn't get to apply some of that last night. Wasn't too many cautions in the NIS race and getting wrecked twice. So, but it is what it is.
And then IMSA P3.
Yeah, so I said earlier, I committed myself that I'm going to try to run all of the full season of IMSA, rain or not, since I know I got a lot of flack for my complaints about the rain. But started P4 in class, ran top 3 most of the race. Again, rain in the entire race. It was drivable. Still too much rain in real life. It would have been a red flag, but that's neither here nor there. Ended up driving up to P2 before pit stops. Kind of did my normal strategy, which was kind of to run basically almost all the fuel out. So to have a really short stop. These were, because we were in the rain, ended up with a lot of laps. Literally, I think probably with like 5 to go is end up when I pitted. But the guy in P3 ended up pitting earlier, and he ended up jumping me during my stop. So I was kind of surprised by that. So finished with the third. Was up to P2 by the end of the week. So super excited about that. And as far as the series and points.
Ran a couple hosted. I ran Chris McGuire 1987s at Talladega, finished P7. And not listed here was a win I ran at Michigan in the supercars and won that race, my first win on the new computer. And with that, we'll jump to final thoughts. David Hall.
Ready for Spa. That's going to be my main focus coming up.
All right, let's hope for no DDoS attacks. Knock on wood. Greg Hectus, final thoughts.
I say the same sentiments as David. I can't wait to run this race. I hope it goes off without no problems. I'm really enjoying my new pedals. I got some more fine tuning I want to do over the next little bit here. David and I have been talking about that. But SimCoach's pedals are by far, I feel like it's made a huge difference. I've changed my whole rig around. I mentioned this morning too that I feel like putting my subwoofer on top of my pedal box has made a little bit more of a different feel too, with the way that I can feel the car a bit differently with just a little bit of the rumble that's coming from it. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I want to thank Lawrence from SimCoaches for getting me them out as fast as I can after the ones got lost in translation or in transportation from their facility to UPS, which is really odd. It wasn't even like on my way here. It got apparently picked up and never made it to the facility. So whoever that UPS driver is, I hope he's enjoying his SimCoach pedals. But it's been nothing but great things from them. I appreciate all the stuff from it, and I look forward to racing more with these. They're definitely worth all the money that I've spent on them. Just sucks that I had to pay for them in Canadian dollars and then pay a duty on top of it, but it's all good. It's just money. Can always work more.
The question I had, Greg, is they're only partially inverted? The throttle's not inverted?
The throttle's like a normal car. The 2 pedals come out the top, and then the throttle pedals down on the ground like it normally would be in a car.
What car are you driving? Most manufactured cars have a suspended pedal.
My car.
Yeah, I just find it odd.
Mine car has the throttle pedal will be on the mat, and then the brake and the clutch would be on top.
So let me ask you this.
And my truck
so
would
is
be
that
the way?
That's the way that you set it up, or that's the way the pedals come?
No, that's the way I set it up. It could have been inverted. The throttle pedal could have been inverted, but I like it this way.
Okay, so you could do it either way.
Yeah, you can. The only difference between, from what I believe, is just the way they mount the master cylinder on the thing or on it. Because when you open the package from them, it says not to touch the pedals or depress any of them until they're in their actual mounting positions, because they don't want it will damage the sensors and I guess something to do with the fluid too. So you're not supposed to push them upside down or anything like that. So if they were normal standing up pedals, the master cylinder would be one way, and because they're inverted, they're the other way.
Right. I'm maybe having to buy pedals soon. I don't know what's wrong with mine. I still have to evaluate. Brad Wren, final thoughts.
I'm trying to get another shot at Indy tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to the 2-week break from NIS for the Olympics. As much as I enjoy oval racing, looking forward to just a short break. Super excited after coming out of last week with IMSA. Was in P2. Have not had a chance to run this week, but for the first time, I think I've really got a good shot at maybe grabbing a season championship. So I'm committed to running IMSA, regardless of weather and all of the hullabaloo that goes along with that. So just excited for that next couple weeks. Going to try to do that. Spa, super excited to run with the there's 5 of us running this week. So, we did not have a successful Daytona 24. Really excited about, being able to get a full race in with the guys. So, team racing is fantastic. So for anybody that hasn't done it, again, it completely changes the way that you look at an event. There's nothing more enjoyable than taking 24 hours or whatever the distance is, and you split up between guys and you work and you're watching, and you're talking, and it just, I mean, Justin and I, a perfect example, going through the 6 hours of the Glen. We are spend 6 hours with somebody just talking back and forth and stuff like that. It's I just, from a friendship standpoint, it's fantastic. So really looking forward to this weekend.
Good times coming. John Curley, final thought.
Yeah, it's good to be back on the show. It's been a while. I had to take some time off to deal with just life in general. But, I've only raced once in the last 12 days. Going to get back into it this weekend. Going to run Indy tomorrow night. Looking forward to that one. And, just needed a break, took it, ready to go back.
That's right. Race and moderation is a key. My final thoughts. Wow, it's been crazy with the new computer.
Mike, can I interrupt?
Yes.
I went to the GPT to find out about pedals. Most American popular models have suspended pedals, except for luxury and some sports cars, basically.
Oh, so Greg's recreating the sports car and race car
It's
thing.
also in a transport trucks. They'll have the throttle pedal. Will be on the ground.
All right.
So it's a truck simulator then.
Well, I always get accused of that, right? Didn't I send a picture the other day? I went from the simulator to my truck simulator.
All right, so back to my computer. What a project. I mean, I thought it was going to be easy. I mean, when I built my last computer, it went pretty smoothly. This one did not, as I already documented. Had a variety of problems. Took a lot longer than I hoped, but the outcome, the final product, is really good. I mean, I have everything turned on in graphics, like everything. I'm running triple 4K. I'm getting 95 frames a second running the F4 at Long Beach, and the visuals are outstanding. I can't believe the difference from the old computer to the new computer as far as the visuals. I mean, looking far away, when you're in Long Beach and you look far away at the buildings and stuff, it's sharp, it's detailed. It wasn't like that before. It wasn't the same. So far, I'm really liking the new computer. I think it was worth it. I'm freaking broke. The other thing that happened, I broke my headphones. I had to buy new ones. I asked for recommendations. Several on the team recommended these Logitech G Pro 2 or G Pro X version 2. And I ended up buying a set, and I'm using them now. They were at $250. A little shocked about the price, but so far I love the quality. Super quality on these headphones. So it's worth the money. And yeah, like I said, I'm broke. And with that, we'll see you on the track. Later. Okay, we got 5 choices.
Absolutely not number 3.
Number 1 or 4.
I kind of like Max Planning or number 1. Yeah, I'm between those two.
What was the tender meat from?
Beating the horse to death.
Oh, okay. Yeah, now I get it.
So how about like NIS tender meat?
I thought about putting up blonde moment or blank stare as mine.
I amend my number 1.
I'm good with NIS tender meat.
There you go.
Okay. There it is, number 1. Good show, guys.
Yep.
So